Welcome to the first. You have a story. If you look back on your life, you've done things for the first time that no one in your family, in your town, in the country has done. This is Dr. Sandi. You have unknowingly paved the way for others without knowing it or even acknowledging it. This is where you tell your story so that those who come after you can walk in your footsteps to build their own firsts. Hey everybody, my guest today is Vikram Rajan. Vic is the co-founder of videosocials. I was invited to one of his networking sessions by a colleague and became absolutely intrigued with the structure. Vic has taken winning formats from different networking structures and combined them to give business owners the ease of making their own video. My favorite structure is that he uses the time cards from Toastmasters because he wants to keep us within our allocated time frame. And I'm a Toastmaster, so I appreciate that. We as business owners put off making videos, being in front of the camera all the time. And Vic records our online introductions during our networking sessions. Then he edits it, he puts in all the bells and whistles like closed captioning and your logo. And within a few hours, you, Mr. and Mrs. Business Owner, can utilize this video for marketing. Pure genius. Welcome, Vic Rajan. Hey everybody, today we are welcoming Vikram Rajan, and Vic is from videosocials. So Vic, thank you and welcome to the first.
Thank you, Sandy.
Tell me a little bit about yourself and what makes you the first.
I am the co-founder of videosocials, and I guess we are the first video blogging club. You've come on and you know some of our members and raving fans. And we put it together BC before COVID. We did it to really help our type of clients, lawyers, accountants, coaches, consultants who need to create video content from video blogs to video podcasts. And it's sometimes lonely to do it, especially when you have to stare into the black hole of a camera all by yourself. And to not only do it once, but do it over and over again. So, you know, consistency is key in marketing. And our clients didn't want to do it. This is, of course, even before us having to be on Zoom all day because of COVID and all that. So back then, it was even more so that they didn't really want to be on camera because it wasn't something that they were typically used to. But even now, it can be difficult to keep video blogs short and snappy and podcast promo videos short and snappy. And we do it together, fun and done. Right during a Zoom call with about 6-7 of us, a 45-minute session. And so it's a combination of Toastmasters, which you know very well, a combination of a networking group, a mastermind, those kinds of accountability groups. We've kind of mishmashed a couple of models together to create the first and only video blogging club. And that gets coupled with our automation app that gets the videos optimized with captions and a headline and a call to action. And they're able to push a button and get the videos posted on their social media.
You built an app to aggregate all that information?
And the app was really to kind of alleviate the workload on me and my staff, because once you have a video recorded, all right, well, who's going to optimize it? Who's going to master it to be a final product? Because I'm sure you know, videos play automatically on mute. Yes. On Facebook, on LinkedIn, nowadays even YouTube. So you want captions on it. And so who's going to do that? Well, we are hooked up with Alexa, Amazon's engine. So you push a button and a read-along version gets produced of the video. And our system turns it into captions. Likewise, a headline, a title. You need an end screen with a call to action and your logo. And our type of clients are lawyers and accountants. So they have to have disclaimers on their video. Well, who's going to add that? So our software does all that automatically. And then posting and reposting gets automated as well.
And is this a subscription-based thing, or you can do one-offs?
Oh, well, anyone that's watching and listening can definitely do a one-off, come as a guest and kind of experience how it is firsthand, and you get a video out of it. You get the test drive the automation software to kind of see how it fits into your marketing as a one-off. But our members are creating a video library because they know they have to continuously stay top of mind with their potential clients and referral relationships. So it's not like a networking group where you come once or you kind of deliver the same elevator pitch over and over. Here, you're creating a different topic just about every time you come on. It could be every week, multiple times a week. It's an unlimited program, so it's an all-you-can-record buffet. So it's a subscription or a membership community.
And do you only record it when you're on with someone else, or you can go on at any time and use it like you would Vimeo or any other?
Yeah, so people can do selfie videos done by themselves and upload it into Brander, which is the automation software we created. And that software will still work in terms of optimizing with captions and a headline, call to action, posting, reposting on social media. So the uploading feature is there. The main driver of Brander, our software, is the video socials clubs, because kind of left to our own time management, our kind of clients are busy working with their clients, serving their clients. So very often their own marketing goes on the back burner. So we have to remind them to kind of get back into the video gym and get back on the treadmill. And we make that kind of rote, let alone lonely, boring, something they don't really want to do, into something fun.
And how did you come about with this idea? I mean, it's certainly needed in the marketplace.
Yeah.
But what was the impetus to go out and build an app to do this thing, and then to include Toastmasters, which was fascinating to me, because I don't think I've seen anyone do that before.
Yeah, the invention with the invention is a mother of necessity, or necessity is mother of invention, I think is the way it is. And so it was really a necessary component. So I don't know if you're familiar, we have our other service called Phone Blogger, where we interview our clients over the telephone and we turn what they say into written articles. And we've been doing that for many, many years, really back when written articles was the primary and maybe exclusive way of producing content on the internet. As the world has shifted to become video focused and prioritizing video, Google owns YouTube, Facebook prioritizes video. Of course, you have platforms like Instagram and TikTok that are nearly exclusively video. But then, of course, LinkedIn prioritizes video as well. With all that there, we had to tell our clients, look, you got to start creating videos. And it was deer in headlights. Their fear factor, the awkwardness, they didn't want to say things and fumble over themselves. And again, this was before COVID, so they didn't even know if they had a webcam on their laptops. I mean, it was just a very awkward experience. And now, while they may be comfortable on Zoom, it's hard to kind of keep it within a 2 to 3 minute attention span.
Yes.
So the necessity was there of how can we help our type of clients get comfortable and be themselves, because they are naturally thought leaders and subject matter experts. We just wanted them to stop worrying that they're on video and start focusing on who they are, and for that genuine authenticity of having a conversation with them. Nuggets falls out of their mouth that they've been these are well-seasoned, well-experienced professionals. So it was more, how can we make them enjoy it and be in the moment? And so we had to kind of look at models that were already existing of, could we kind of mishmash things? And as you know, I do a lot of networking before COVID, now on Zoom. As we chatted earlier, my business partner, Mark Bullock, he was the president of the largest Toastmasters chapter in Hawaii. So it's one of the largest ones in the country. And I'm a huge fan of Toastmasters myself, while not being a member, Mark being president. I said, hey, Mark, I don't want to steal their idea, but is there things that we can learn that they do really well that we can pay respect to, because they do things great that different from video socials? Likewise, a networking group, things like BNI and other networking groups, we're not trying to be BNI. They do things that are great and different from us, but can we learn different aspects of how members can communicate from them? Likewise, mastermind and accountability groups and peer advisory groups. How can we learn from them of how members can give each other feedback and support each other and give each other encouragement, and that accountability of doing things that are outside of our comfort zone? And so we kind of said, all right, can we do a Venn diagram of all these models and create something relatively unique? And and mix it in a pot and have our own type of stew of video socials.
For the people who don't know what Toastmasters does with timing, can you explain a little bit how you do your timing?
Our timing is a little bit different. So we don't have, so I know Toastmasters does a lot of counting of the ums and ahs, and we don't do that. So we don't really mind. I do a lot of ums and ahs. So you'll get very upset with me, Sandy.
I still do as well.
And we find that we want it to be conversational. We don't give that kind of critique, or there's no competitive aspect to video socials. That as you get more proficient with Toastmasters, you can be competitive in that sense, in a good way, and in a way that improves everyone. But nonetheless, we don't do anything of that nature. But we do show signs that it's your turn to go, and that you have 1 minute left, and that you have 30 seconds left to kind of wrap it up. We are big clappers. We love clapping for each other and giving each other that praise and acknowledgement. That happens after the videos. After the video records, so the end product is just you on video. Everyone else is hidden and on mute. And the topics are very serious in nature, because our members are matrimonial divorce lawyers. They are CPAs and CFOs. They are trust and estates attorneys. They are business coaches, HR executives.
And you make them have fun. You make them have fun.
We make them have fun in between the topics that can be very sobering and somber and serious, because these are complex issues that real people are going through. So, it has to sometimes be a quiet storm. They're not going to have the same bubbly personality for every topic, because, you're dealing with someone's death or bankruptcy and things of that nature that are serious topics, but need to be spoken about by these professionals.
So does your family understand what you're doing? Do they understand your business model? And
it's funny that you mentioned that. Yeah, I would say surprisingly they do. Surprisingly they do. My son, as you met him a little bit earlier, he understands a little bit of what video socials is, because he understands what Zoom is. He's going to be 6 years old next week, and now just about every 6-year-old knows what Zoom is. So he gets the idea. My family has an idea of what a video blogging club is like. We share a lot of video clips of how it is. I'm sure they would describe it in a different way than I would.
Like you're a TikTok. You'd probably say you're a TikTok artist.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, my family are a lot older than I am, so they're probably not TikTokers, although my wife likes TikTok nowadays. So, yeah, I would say they would describe it maybe even in a better way, because sometimes it's hard to see the forest from within the trees. And they may even describe it in a more effective way than I would, where, people come together and record videos together and give each other feedback. And simply that's what it is. And the end product is pretty fascinating, because it is a marketing tool. But yeah, for the most part, I think, there's been enough Thanksgiving dinners where they kind of get the idea of what I do around video blogging. And so, yeah, they've seen the evolution.
That's great. That's great. I remember one time I asked someone in my family, I was working in corporate and I was doing marketing in corporate, and they mentioned something. And I said, do you know what I do? And she said, yes, you make flyers to hand out. You're a marketer. You make flyers to hand out. And I started laughing, because what they know as marketing and what you really do in your day-to-day job, they haven't a clue.
It reminds me of two things. There's very often on Facebook, I see it, that there's very often like a 6-panel meme of like the misconceptions of a profession. It's, what I think I do versus what my friends think I do, what my family thinks I do, and what I actually end up really doing. And so my friends may see me as this like hotshot entrepreneur, kind of, the monopoly man, printing money. And like, I wish, and what I think I am of like this personal branding genius, of what I really am, sitting there, talking to my programmer of how can I create a YouTube thumbnail automatically. I mean, it's very mundane stuff. And so it reminds me of that, where, the perception of other people think that I'm in this for the money, and maybe I should be. But for me, entrepreneurship is beyond that. It's a passion, it's a creativity. It's, despite the money, it's a calling for me. It's it's my creativity, it's my brainchild
Yes.
of beyond, the two wonderful kids I have. This is another way of me manifesting something, to use all that kind of language. So it's
And creating a legacy.
and yeah, I have to remind myself that it also has to make money, but it is very much creating something beyond me, which is why I don't really love being solo or self-employed. I really do want to create an organization, something that can live on beyond just me and my ideas. So it's fascinating in that sense. But yeah, sometimes the perception of what other people have, especially our family, can be disconnected. But I use the trope a lot that, we spend so much time in networking groups, meeting strangers essentially, and helping them become acquaintances and friends of ours, that our own friends and family we barely do any networking with.
Correct.
And so it goes really to your point that sometimes we don't take that time for people who love and care for us for years, decades, barely know what we do, and thus they can't recommend people to us, vice versa even.
Correct.
And that's a lost opportunity. It's a missed opportunity. It's, it's like, how's work? Yeah, it's great. Okay, great. Pass the gravy. And that's basically the extent of the networking for the year. And this should go beyond that. I think LinkedIn has helped tremendously because all my uncles and my aunts, essentially, they're on LinkedIn. So they can see what I do. And me, and I'm pretty active. I have my videos, of course, and all that stuff. So they get a kick out of it.
So now they can say at Thanksgiving, "Hey, Vic, you still playing around with videos? It's no longer."
Yeah. They're like, "Oh yeah, I was at video blogging." Though it is a little bit more detailed. Like, but one of my cousins works for LinkedIn, so that
Okay.
conversation there because we're automation partners with LinkedIn. So he works on a different side of LinkedIn's very large organization, but nonetheless, I've actually tapped on his shoulder trying to get some like insider aspect, and he has helped me out. So I would say, unusually, my family tends to be a little bit more networked than others, though I'm sure there's room for improvement. I wish there was kind of that family networking group aspect, because I think giving us a crutch or a way to really talk about what we do for a living and even the goals that we have, let alone the things that we're doing first, would help all of us, especially those of us who have like kind of, I'm in a family. I have a lot of uncles and aunts, so they're of working age. They're just maybe 10, 15 years older than I am. And so there's a lot of that growth opportunity for me. And, I used to look at the people with the gray hair, and now I'm one of them. So there's definitely a generation coming after me.
Well, Vic, that's probably your new business model, is getting families into networking groups.
There's never a lack of ideas, Sandy. So.
Well, you brought up something that you said you didn't want to be in this business by yourself. You wanted it to be bigger than you. What are some of the pitfalls of being a business owner and being the first at what you do? What are some of the things that you just find, either onerous, or it could be better if you were not in that position?
Yeah, I would say two things. One, having to educate clients and potential clients. When you're in a commodity business, the advantage you have, disadvantage is profit margins, a lot of competition, red ocean, to use that phrase. But you have the advantage of people looking for you. Search engine optimization becomes important when you're a commodity because people are actually looking for what you're doing. If you're a mortgage broker, people are looking for mortgages. And yes, there's a dozen of them on your street, and you have to differentiate yourself. You have your own challenges, but at least people are looking for you, and people sort of understand what you do, or at least know the benefit. Whenever I come out with things, phone blogger, video socials, now we have video socials VIP around video podcasts. It's not a commodity.
Yes,
we'll get to that. Yeah, we'll get to video VIP. So, and I see that you're coming to our January 27th event, so I appreciate that. That'll be fun. I'm looking forward to introducing you to other show hosts. So, yeah, no one's looking for what I do. So, they know they're looking for the benefit of what I do. So so from that aspect, okay, great. They want to market their practice. They want to get new clients, but there are a lot of ways to doing that. So the education of this is another way, a new way, maybe a better way, a more effective way, depending on what they're looking to actually achieve, or a way to achieve multiple things at the same time. that education can be daunting and overwhelming, and exactly what you said, feels onerous and like, oh. And because of that education, there can be confusion. So we're constantly having to say, look, we're not really a networking group. We're not trying to be like BNI.
Right.
Yes, you can network here, but you can network at a PTA meeting, on the golf course, at dinner with your family. And yes, of course, BNI and other groups like BNI may be even better than BNI, but we're not that. Yes, are we a network? Are we a community in that sense? Yes. And will our members have wonderful connections where they can do business with one another? Yes. But the purpose is to create that video content together, fun and done. We're not Toastmasters. What they do is phenomenal and wonderful. We can pay homage and respect to that, but we're not trying to be the next Toastmasters or a different Toastmasters. They're a reminiscent, but reminiscent of a networking group, reminiscent of a mastermind and a peer advisory group. So the confusion, which is kind of related to education, but it's also kind of like, oh yeah, I belong to a lot of networking groups. I'm like, no. You're just like, no. Maybe you still don't qualify for video socials. Maybe video socials still isn't the right fit for what you're looking to achieve, but don't confuse us with that. Nothing wrong with that, but we're different, and it's a different purpose. And so that becomes annoying.
I think when I first heard about it, I too thought, oh, it's another networking group.
Sure.
They're just going to make a video of me being, not being able to introduce myself well.
Yeah. Right.
That's what I first thought. And when I got invited, I was really curious about how is this different. Once you got into it, I was in my head thinking, oh, this is Toastmasters on video.
Sure.
And then it wasn't until the very end after we recorded that I said, oh, this is the outcome of what they were trying to get me to do.
Right.
But I must say it was a little confusing, and maybe because I was familiar with the other business models that you were using. And so each time it came to that, I'm like, well, okay, they're timing me with the cards, but something else is different here.
Right. And so, it's fun to be novel. I think it's great to be creative. For me, it's just, I can't help it. So, I can say it's wonderful and, straight out my collar and take the compliments and the attaboys. But it's just downright annoying sometimes of having to explain and jockey for that position of saying no. And it is helpful to have models. So from a marketing standpoint, I think, look, there's nothing ever completely new. We are a mixture of things. So for me, that's the way I'm able to explain video social, that we're kind of a mix of this and this and this, but something different. So there goes the dance. But, someone doesn't have the attention span or the curiosity, the interest, it's just not going to go anywhere. So it's very often not very often, but our growth has really been because of our members who are raving fans, and they get business out of this. This is productive for them and it's fun for them. And so they tell others, like Noreen invited you. So, our members invite others. And that's for us, I think for all of us, the most effective marketing are raving fans, and ours even more so because we are the first, to put it that way, that it's something interesting and new and different, and that's not always a good thing. But we find it, it's an effective way of achieving what we're looking to achieve for our members.
Nice. So those are some of the downsides, but what are some of the upsides of having being the first in this market? What's joyful about that you can share?
So there is a potential of market domination. So from a marketing standpoint, to do something interesting and clever,
definitely,
there is that marketing opportunity in that sense from a business standpoint. And personally, as much as I say there are benefits of commodity, I don't want to be yet another something. I just don't find joy in that. I do like the attaboys. There is an ego aspect of it, of going, oh, that's a pretty cool idea. And hearing that from someone, and they'll say it with sincerity as if I've never heard that before. And of course, I have to respond as if I've never heard that before, because it's very cocky and arrogant for me to be like, yeah, I know it's really cool. but I do know it's really cool. Like, I'm the one who created this. Like, of course I think it's really cool. If someone's saying how smart my kid is, of course I know how smart he is. But it never gets old to hear it. And so when their eyes light up, especially when they make the connection of not only that it's cool and it's clever or unique, but that they can see the impact that it can have on their business, on their practice, that they're like, oh yeah, that would be really great for me. I mean, for me, that's the aha moment as a sales professional that I really want them to make, not just complimenting me, but for them seeing a fit of how it would benefit their own marketing. And I'm like, yeah, that's why we created it. I didn't want to create something clever and cool just for the sake of cleverness.
Correct.
It was really for the effect, the impact that we know it could have on them personally to a great extent, but also from a marketing standpoint, that we know this stuff works and we know our way works. And it's not a fit for everyone. There are plenty of people that could just pick up a phone and do a selfie video and just be done with it. And that's cool. And they belong with video socials as well. But there's a greater number of us who know that it's a lot more fun to be part of a community, that especially members who want to like and share each other's videos, and that becomes a multiplier effect. And so when people make that connection of that this is not only clever and unique, but that this is going to be really worthwhile for them to do, I'm like, yeah, that's really cool. Yes, I get to make a sale, so that's my job. But almost more importantly, I get to see them grow through it personally and professionally, that marketing wise. So that's really the great thing of being the first, that we're like, yeah, we're doing something that's really making an impact. Like, we're real. Like, this is really works. And so when they see that, it's really cool.
And, by making videos, you can see the outcome, right? And in a short period of time, you can actually see, okay, this 3-minute video, or how long is the video?
Up to 3 minutes. So we say
3 minutes.
Keep it short and simple, KISS principle, but up to 3 minutes.
This 3-minute video, I showed it. I got X number of hits on my page. It's been past shared X number of times. Like, these are tangible things.
These are tangible metrics. And someone clicks reply or comment and says, hey, Sandy, we it's about time we got to talk. Or, this is the third video I've watched. When can we talk ASAP? And they get a client out of it. Like, and that can happen like in a 24-hour span, right? They record a video, they get it as a preview page, they click post on Facebook or LinkedIn, and someone comments, and they get a client out of it. And they were just in the right place at the right time. We were just a facility to make that happen. It wasn't any kind of magical thing that Video Socials did, but we made it really easy, and convenient, and something that they're going to do over and over again, because that hamster wheel of content can be really annoying to do. And if we can make that into a fun habit, great. And so, the results are there. And so from that, that's really why we do it, really to see that. And that's why they become raving fans.
So you've said a lot, and I understand all this knowledge. You've curated all this knowledge, both for yourself and for the next set of people who are going to come to do this, whether in your business or flattery is getting copycats, right?
Sure.
But how will you pass down this knowledge to other generations? Do you mentor? Are you teaching your kids what you do? Like, how are you going to not just let that knowledge live within Vic?
So from a very practical standpoint, we're very systemized and systematic internally. So our SOP, standard operating procedures, checklist, we use a system called Smartsheet, which is essentially our project management system. So in a much more cerebral way that you're asking, Sandy, we do, because we don't want the company to be dependent on any one person, let alone me, let alone anyone. So from a key person issue, we have to create these structures and processes, et cetera. I know your question is a little bit more profound than that, but I think that's for us extremely important from a short-term perspective, and HR perspective is critical. The more profound aspect of the next generation, be it literally my kids, they're a little young. So Devin is about to be 6 next week. And so, he's not really in line to take over Video Socials anytime soon. And by the time he is, it'll be, we'll be in the Metaverse,
No,
literally or
but you
figuratively.
know what? I wouldn't say that, because if this is around, if this if your company has longevity and morph according to whatever the new video technique is, your son being 6-year-olds are creating their own content.
They're creating their own content. He is on YouTube. He has a couple of videos already on YouTube. He craves to publish videos. He has already asked to be part of Video Socials, to join
And you should
on
let
my
him.
and
Let
meet
him
my
do
Zoom
it.
friends. And he knows some of them already because two of my very close friends work at the company. One of whom I don't see my friends in person that often, just in general, and then of course with COVID. But I'll just give a plug for Stacy, who is very much a right-hand person in our company, and Stacy has been my friend for over half my life since college days, and I know her husband well, and so our kids play together. And so when Devin asks about meeting my Video Socials friends and people who work with us, I'm like, well, you know some of them. Like, you know Aunt Stacy. You just saw her 2 weeks ago. So from that aspect, and I get your point, because let's say in 10 years from now, snap a finger, 10 years will happen. 16, 17-year-olds can easily take over this type of an online company. And as much as I joke that at that point we will be doing something in the metaverse and the virtual reality and augmented reality, et cetera, it's not a joke. We know we will be there, because ultimately the purpose of what we do is to help our type of clients who are well-connected, well-seasoned professionals to create content for them to stay top of mind. And we use the internet to do so. So is it written articles or videos or video podcasts or creating an avatar in the metaverse? Well, that will be kind of the next evolution of it. So from that aspect, I don't do any kind of mentoring of the youth right now, barely with my kids, but nothing outside of, let's say, my kids. But there is that kind of understanding that this company is here to stay.
I used to get interns into my company all the time. And that was my way of getting the next generation into it, and just getting a foot in the door. Because a lot of times I find young people, especially in college, every job they go to, they say you need to have experience.
Right.
And the only way, or the best way to give it to them, is having them intern in my company. And so I mentioned that because video is not going away.
No.
And I see the TikToks of the world that young people are dominating these different channels. And your Video Social is a great way to introduce them not just to the fun aspect, but to the business side of that. So I think your business is prime for getting young people in and helping to set them up for their own Video Social, type platform going forward.
And also, to your point, Sandy, also to help them connect, literally and figuratively, with that professional circuit, right? With those of us who have gray hair now, to understand that they have value and benefit, because very much we're bridging the gap between, let's say, one generation and the next in terms of at least technologies. So from that aspect, that for them, there is a world of social media that is literally social and fun and almost silly. And those are things that tend to go viral way more so. Even political stuff gets viral.
Right.
Our type of clients are producing informative video blogs or video podcasts, and they, as I jokingly say, we are of the boring professions, the much needed professions, but these aren't like silly TikTok videos. This is, the 3 things that you must have in your will, or the 3 things to avoid of your estate taxes. So they're not the sexiest topics, but they are very needed when needed. So.
They're not. But one thing I do have to say about them, they have skills.
Sure.
They have technology skills beyond belief. I think they came out of their parent with technology skills. A little baby knows how to use an iPhone
Well, it speaks to the credit of how intuitive the user interface is, and then the digital natives is another phrase that's bandied about, and they're just used to it. I mean, my son is used to talking to say Alexa quietly. Oh, that's right. I can say Alexa because we call her by a different name for that reason. Because I constantly say Alexa, it would be annoying.
Well, I'm glad mine is plugged out because it would.
Yeah, there you go. For that reason, yeah, I could just be ordering toilet paper right now. And it's funny you mentioned, so even in a child development perspective, it clued us into whether or not, like, can other people understand our toddler? Because we can barely understand. Yeah. And so for them to be able to speak clearly enough for Alexa to understand was literally a milestone in our kid's development.
Yes.
And now he has a computer for his kindergarten. It's literally right here. It's a Chromebook. And he knows, good or bad, how to pull it out, how to use a QR code to log in, go to YouTube, put on PJ Masks on Netflix and Disney Plus. He can do it all thing. And I'm like, great, do it. And my daughter, who's 3.5, literally just yesterday, maybe it was the day before, I think for the first time, went onto YouTube by herself and found a video. And I'm like, and I grew up being a computer
Hopefully
geek.
It's a video she can watch.
It's a video that she can watch. We're around. My dad forced me to learn how to type on a typewriter when I was 6 years old. And I used to type my book reports in elementary school to the dismay of my teachers. And so they are of that generation, right? So for me, I'm proud. Like, that's what I grew up with. It's their version for him to use a tablet, et cetera. I'm like, I want them to know how to do that. Let alone I have no problem, depending on that it's proper content. They go on and they search and they're able to find the videos. I find that fascinating. And so, as you say, they are like, coming out being digital natives. This is the only world they know. So I'm fascinated. I always try to, just the other day, for the first time, I had to use an app to pay for a parking meter. That's just what's happening now.
City parking? New York
Correct.
City parking?
It is going app now. Already in Jersey, I had done it once, but this one I was actually with my son, and he was like, "What's taking so long?" And I'm like, "I don't know." I'm downloading an app. I'm like, "Oh, I don't know what I'm doing." I'm like, "Be quiet. I don't know what I'm doing." And he was like, "What?" And I had to explain to him, like, look, growing up, I used to always have quarters in my car. It was like I lived and died by that roll of quarters. And then, of course, became credit cards. Like, oh, look how cool this is. We're using credit cards.
Correct.
And then my wife has to ask me, like, why is there a $25 parking charge? Like, where were you? Yeah. I'm like, no, it's this new app that you have to pay. I don't know if you've used it, but you have to bank funds. So you pay them.
I use New York City parking.
That's what I use.
Well, I don't have.
They have a minimum. Don't they have a minimum $25 charge?
No.
Well, so at least that. No. So at least the version I used, it debits from the $25. So you bank the $25. Maybe it was an option that I
don't have anything banked. I just go in for the parking meter is 25 cents. For the parking lot is $25.
So this is regular street parking.
Yeah.
This is regular street parking.
Maybe your son can show you how to.
Maybe my son can show me. Well, that was banked. The second time I used it was yesterday. And it was actually very convenient to have the bank to debit from, because it was like, all right, just debit it under. So
interesting.
A wonderful tangent to your show that was not expected, but now people can learn about New York City. But it does speak to the changing world and how this stuff is becoming more and more normal. And let alone normal expected.
It is. Like Zoom is now normal to people after a year, right? It was normal to me when I started my business. Skype was coming in. There was no Zoom. There was no Zoom when I started. Right. But we had teleconferencing because I had a virtual company.
Sure. Yeah.
And so
we were used to Skype and WebEx, and that was,
conference, join me, whatever all
join me, sure.
Stuff are. I was very skilled at that because I had employees in other states.
Yeah, likewise.
So it was easy for me.
Yeah.
And that was the way to go. You might fly them in quarterly for a quarterly meeting. Right. But on a day-to-day, I'm living in Skype and I'm living in all these different things. So for me, it was just second nature. And then when the pandemic came, everyone's like, oh my God, it's scurrying. And so I just spent a year or two just teaching people this technology of teleconferencing, of Zooming, and how to be a Zoom master is
Sure.
now a thing, right? And people can make money off of being a
Sure.
Zoom master because they go
Sure.
work for churches, they go work for
Sure.
different places that need it. And so
They can come work for Video Social. I mean, we call them tech hosts. Our tech host runs our meetings. So it's wonderful. Jackie is great. Sarah is great. And they help us run our meetings because Mark, myself, when we're there, either we're there as a member because we have to record our own video blogs, or we're behind the scenes kind of watching the operation of it.
Yes.
You can't, literally be flying the plane and kind of watching everything from the tower at the same time. So our tech hosts are the backbone, and they are Zoom masters, literally and figuratively.
Absolutely. So who inspired you, Vic, that you could think that, hey, I could start this business and make a go of it? Did you look at other people who were doing it, whether celebrities or just normal everyday?
So, I mean, to a great extent, it was my dad. My dad worked for the phone company all my life, but then took an early retirement when the phone companies merged here in New York. And so his early retirement, he was probably in his mid to late 50s at the time. So for me, he was an old guy taking retirement. Now that I'm in my mid 40s, he was a young guy taking an early retirement. He was literally only 10 years older than I am when he, times change. So from that aspect, it was that inspiration of like, hey, you can figure it out. You should work for yourself and you can own that. I'm a political science major. And so without getting too political, kind of understanding that I have the means of production in my hands and that I can control it.
Yeah.
And that we are a country of entrepreneurs. It's built on entrepreneurship. It's built on that. And that New York City is built on entrepreneurship and mercantilism and all that stuff. And that, bootstrapping and figuring it out like this, that's what this country is built on. And so as much as I believe that we need to provide resources and a safety net for those who are not able to, the more we can encourage and support those who are able to be in their own business or at least feel and take ownership in their way, the better. I think it's better for everyone. So from that aspect, it's being inspired in a macro sense of politics, but in a micro sense, my dad, and kind of knowing that I can figure it out. And it hasn't been an easy journey. I've seen other people's journey, and grass is greener on the other side. So I wonder, wow, they had it much easier than I had. But I don't know what they go through. I don't know what demons they have. I don't know what abilities and privileges they were able to have as well. So from that aspect, it's been a journey.
Yeah, I remember the first time I saw Oprah Winfrey on TV. And what fascinated me about her was, first, she looked like me. Secondly, she was not the traditional look of TV at that time. She was heavier than most people, but she was out there doing her thing, and people were watching, right? Yeah. So she was going against the grain of, you have to look a certain way, you have to be a certain size, you have to behave in a certain manner to be popular or to have a business. And then when she started coming out with all these different businesses and turning her one talk show into a huge, I was so impressed. I'm like, that's what I want to do. I want to take something small and grow it. And maybe it was kind of far-fetched at that time for when I saw it. But I said, that's what and there's somebody who's doing it, right? Sure. So, and they don't even know I'm looking at them doing it.
Yeah. I think that's the power of having role models, right? Like it need not be a personal mentor or even someone in the family friend circle, but it can be that virtual role model that you're able to at least pay respect to and model after at least one aspect of their life. It's hard to really know their full extent and full life. Sometimes that can be disappointing to understand the full life of someone because we're all flawed,
That
but
you
at least one
want.
role.
Yeah, the part that you want. And
Correct.
so somebody is watching you, Vic. Who do you think you're inspiring to be the first of?
I have no idea, Sandy. Yes, you mentioned on our call that I'm sure our kids are one way, watching me and my wife, and I want to be that inspiration for people to find that path, and to be unique and creative. I mean, that's ultimately what I enjoy doing. The fact that I channel it into business models, it's because I have a job to do that. But if that wasn't it, I'm sure in any other incarnation, it would be in some other type of way that I'm channeling the creative efforts. So yeah, hopefully
Well,
it is inspiring to others.
I can tell you that somebody somewhere is watching you, and you have no idea. And I just kind of go through my life thinking there are people looking at me. Sometimes I've met people, and before I say anything, they're like, Sandi Webster. Like, oh, what did I do now? It's my first thought. But they saw me somewhere, or I spoke somewhere,
Yes.
right? Where when you're speaking, there might be 100 people. You don't know all of them.
Yes.
But people are saying to themselves, oh, that's Sandi Webster. And, I'm recognized this much in my own little circle, right? So that's kind of how I try to move forward, thinking if I go to a school to speak, that I do career day.
Sure.
And some kid out there is going, hey, I could have a business and sell it, or hey, I could have, my little podcast. And then I also have an entrepreneur program that I used to do in middle schools and let them start a business and help them with it and show. And it's more of a contest at the end to
Nice.
kind of see if they do. But I've had people come back and say, oh my God, you gave the best class. And I've started my little t-shirt business, and that's so fulfilling.
Sure.
So knowing that you're making bold moves, what makes you bolder? Or do you think you're more courageous in doing other things for the first time because you've done this?
I wish I had, there's a phrase, ignorance on fire is better than knowledge on ice. And so I don't know if I'm as bold as I used to be. I don't, I knowing, having the responsibilities, knowing that I have to be more pragmatic, having the family, having staff, it's harder to make those rash decisions and to be as creative. So for people who have the opportunity and the ability to be bold, and to take that chance, take it, do it. You have time to correct. You have time to redo, time to do over. Do it. Because as the encumbrances come that are real or perceived, it's harder to be bold. So I found myself being more pragmatic, which, hopefully is a better decision for me now. But I can't say that I'm more bold now.
Wow.
Maybe one, I don't know if that's the answer you want, but yeah, I'm definitely a lot more pragmatic now of going, all right, is this the right move? Is this the way I want to shift the company and the perception and services, and like, where are we, and what can we really do for our members that they don't even know they need? And so we think very carefully now.
That's interesting because I went through that whole cycle and that whole phase. And as you're speaking about it, when I was growing my company, I was like you. I'm like, oh God, if I knew what it cost to have employees, I would certainly not have 200 of 200 of them.
Right.
Because all that stuff that it comes with, of benefits, and you have to worry, and you start worrying about them, right? Oh my God, I might not have a job for them. And so I think I went through that cycle, but came out on the other end. Like, this letting people go is a part of doing business, right? So I started taking my learnings and saying, okay, so if I go into the next thing, I knew I learned that, I can put it in. And I watched people like Richard Branson, who is still having fun, sending people up into space. I mean, if I had to think of him, like, there's no way, I'm not touching that. With now, people can die going up into space, right? But it doesn't stop them. So they have a little something extra that I want to still be able to take these risks. Sure. And still enjoy taking those risks, knowing what they do know. Right?
Yeah, I mean, entrepreneurship means enter into risk, so there's always that risk. It's weighing the options more and being weighed down by those options more. Case in point, like literally, like as we speak, you mentioned, what is the world of VIP? We're literally in the midst of it right now. The video interview podcast aspect of video socials is brand new for us. It's something that we've been supporting our members for quite a number of months, since summer of 2021, so almost 6 months now, where our members have podcasts and they have live streams and their YouTube channels, and we've been helping them because they need help. So they would ask us to help, get their video show on Apple Podcasts or get their YouTube on their website, and just a variety of stuff. And we ended up finding ourselves in what I would call generically the podcast support services industry. I don't know if anyone else calls it that, but that's what generically I thought of it as. And I'm like, Mark, this is what we're doing. Like, whether we know it or like it or want to, like, we are doing that. And it makes sense, and it checked off all the boxes that we want to do of supporting our members with content, helping them stay top of mind, knowing that we want to do cross promotion. Like, I'm looking forward to you sharing the links to this show so I can share it with others. And that cross promotion opportunity that video podcasts have, our members were doing it really, not unbeknownst to us, but without us. Like, they weren't really doing it with us. They were just asking us for help because they were doing it. And then they needed help booking guests, or they needed help with StreamYard or with Zoom, or they needed help with all that kind of stuff. And so over a period of time, we support half a dozen shows. I'm like, well, we need to tell people that we are doing it and turn it into an actual business. Like what you said earlier, what's that legacy? Like, we know what we're doing and we're doing it, but it wasn't nearly as systematic as it is literally now 2 months ago. And it won't be as, it'll be even better a month from now. But we knew what we were doing. And so we were like, all right, we need to call it something. And so that's how VIP started, just for me, just such a delicious acronym.
So what you said before, that you're more cautious, it still didn't stop you from starting VIP podcast, right? You just went into it with a different set of systems. You know what you need to have, but it doesn't stop you from going, I'm not starting another business again.
Yeah, for us, it was like, all right, how can this be an extension? How is this not a distraction to the video blogging clubs? How is this something that's really just a ripple effect? Where just yesterday I was talking to someone who's about to join Video Socials, and he's going to start a podcast and the whole bit, I'm like, the whole thing, he's doing the whole thing. He's like, oh my goodness. And from a budget standpoint, it could be very scary. So he's like, oh, I don't know if I could afford it right away. And I said, look, let's take things one step at a time. Like, you're not having to do a weekly show right away, which, can be beyond the budget that he's looking for. And I said, look, we're going to start one step at a time, so that as you create the video blog and you get clients using social media in a much more basic way, Video Socials Basic is what we call it now, you're going to get business out of that. And then you'll have a monthly show, then a bi-weekly show, and you'll get clients out of that. And kind of that return on investment, you're kind of reinvesting into the marketing. And then, you'll wake up by the summertime and have a weekly show. We have one client that does 3 shows a week. And I'm like, that's an outlier, but he gets business that way. So, and we're very much a pragmatic perspective with our members. And so we turned it on ourselves. So yeah, we will start things new, but it was really more because we pulled into it, that our members needed that help. And then we just saw that as an opportunity. I wish it were that strategic decision of like, hey, look at this market trend and we ought to go after this new opportunity. And then from a strategic planning standpoint, we're going to skate to where the puck is going to be. And no, it wasn't. Members had asked us, we started helping them as a favor, didn't really charge them any extra. Then we realized we should be charging them extra, and then realized that this could be a business and that, yes, we're here in this world where, yes, podcasting is trending. Yes, it is an opportunity for marketing and personal branding. Yes, yes, yes. And so we were able to talk ourselves and justify it after the fact of going, wow, this is really something. We're onto something. We ought to put our 2 feet in. And that's much how our show hosts networking events are starting. Now, we know we can turn this into a whole networking community of show hosts and podcasters. We're like, let's just go slow. Let's just bring our members and the people we know like ourselves.
Yeah.
Let's just come together and let it see how it can grow. So that's what I mean by pragmatic, that it's like, let's just see where it goes. Like, we don't have to have a grand vision of a 5-year vision right now.
Yeah.
Maybe you disagree, but I don't need to have that 5-year. I have a 1-year vision of where I want it to go.
I'm all about test and learn.
Yeah.
I test it out and it might fly. I might tweak it. I'm very much come from marketing. This is what I learned how to do. Don't just take a leap. There's stuff to be said about taking a leap, but take a calculated risk leap.
Right. Yeah, right. Look before you leap.
Yes.
And so we've looked and we tested, and we can use sophisticated terminology of beta testing and all that, but it was really, it was just like we wanted to see if it worked, and now it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm all for that. I always try things out. So I thank you. Do you have anything more you want to share with our audience?
I think people should take your lead, Sandy. I would love for your viewers and listeners to come on to a video blogging club and kind of have fun with us at Video Socials. It's very much like what you said. There are those misconceptions and misunderstandings of exactly how it works. And, it helped you tremendously for being a guest and actually experiencing it firsthand. And I want everyone to come as a guest and experience it firsthand. It may not be for them. They may not find the fit in their marketing, but they may know someone else that Video Socials would be perfect for. And from a networking standpoint, that's tremendous for our own marketing. So I would love for everyone to get a free video and do a test drive of our brand or automation and experience it and kind of join you, Sandy, and kind of see how Video Socials can work for them.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you for so much. I see you already have your Vic at videosocials.net and your phone number. You're much better than I am. I just
I guess being on Video Socials, we learn a thing or two about how to look on Zoom, right? Yeah. So that's the easiest way. They can shoot me an email.
Absolutely correct. And I normally do that, just put my stuff up. But today I'm like, I'm just Sandy.
It's okay. We don't always have to be on. So I'm not always on. It's our job to be this gracious and retail smile and all that, but typically, I like working by myself and being a loner and a wallflower and all that stuff. So, but this is our job and we do it well, and hopefully we can do it together and fun and done.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate you coming.
Thank you, Sandy.
This is Dr. Sandy. Thank you so much for sharing your journey on The First, where no two stories are alike, even if the circumstances are similar. Let this discussion serve as inspiration for others to show what's possible, and more importantly, to produce seconds and thirds.